Greetings, friends. My name is John Gabriel, and this is the New Calculus channel. So today, I'd like to talk about a word that a lot of academics use but do not understand the meaning thereof. And that word is the Greek word tautology, in Greek tαυτολογία. Okay, so what I'd like to do is explain the meaning to you and show you how mainstream academics don't understand it. And this video, by the way, is directed towards mathematics professors and teachers who normally have an unrealistic impression or idea of their intelligence and abilities. So let's begin. Now, before I continue, I want every professor to do this for homework. Every math professor is to read this article called Why Facts Don't Change Our Minds. It applies to you. It's a scientific study. It shows how your confirmation bias and all your other biases and your groupthink gets in the way of you actually seeing the evidence, which is overwhelming in most cases, but you cannot see if you have this frame of mind. So I'll put a link of this, a link to this article in the details section, okay? So let's just leave that for the time being. Recently, I started commenting again on Quora, and it's probably not going to last because I'm getting a lot of my comments downvoted because people don't like my comments and they don't like my views. So one of the comments that I'm going to address today, I'm going to use this example here from Jared Washburn Moses. By the way, this guy is a failed professor. His rating is 1.4 out of 5, and you can come to this site. I'll put a link to it also, and you can see what his students think of him. And the comments is probably a sycophant. But if you carry on reading, and I'm going to close that now, I don't care for it. If you carry on reading, you'll see that he's got a really bad rap from most of his students. So he's not only an ignorant mathematics academic, but he's also not good socially. So he states now, and by the way, we've progressed from academics outright denying that my theorem is true to now saying it's not a meaningful theorem. It just gets funnier all the time. So this guy says it's a worthless tautology. It says in general, if f and g are any two functions, but that's not what the theorem says. F and g are not any two functions, by the way. Okay, the theorem says this. It says the identity in the theorem says that the slope of the non-parallel secant line is equal to the slope of the tangent line plus the difference. Okay, so let's look up the word tautology because somebody might still be inclined to think that. So tautology is basically the saying of the same thing twice in different words. Okay, generally considered to be a fault of style. It's not wrong, but a fault of style. But am I really saying the same thing in different words? Well, if you consider this here, this identity here is not saying the same thing. It's explaining to you what the slope here is in terms of other parts, okay, in terms of different parts. So these here are not actually directly related to this slope here. So this here is definitely not a tautology, because if this were a tautology, then every equation is a tautology, okay? The Pythagoras theorem is a tautology because it expresses the square on the hypotenuse in terms of the sum of the two squares on the sides of the right angled triangle. So it's simply unreal how people like this academic here, who's obviously an ignoramus of cosmic proportions. But anyway, he continues and he says, two function of Rn. It wasn't necessary to mention Rn, by the way, because we're talking here only about a planar function, okay? And of course it does apply to Rm, but it's a planar function. And he says where Q is the difference. Well, first of all, he stated it wrong. I don't know why he's put the arguments as angles, because they're not angles. The arguments inside these functions are not angles. And of course, there is a relationship between G and F. So it's not just any two functions, F and G. So everything about what he said here is wrong. But my comment was removed from the fools on Quora. See, this comment was deleted as violation of policies. But all I said in that comment was that the guy is not understanding the meaning of tautology, and I explained to him that what he wrote, the drivel that he wrote down here, or the gibberish, is not what the theorem says. It's gotten this here, nothing he said in here is even relevant to the main theorem. So, okay, so that's what tautology is all about. And it says also a statement that is true by necessity or by virtue of its logical form. Okay, so then in the case of my theorem, it's not always true by virtue of its logical form, because the function f must be smooth, right? Otherwise, the theorem does not hold. Do you see what I'm saying? So, if anything, this theorem of mine with this identity here is not a tautology. And of course, the first idiot to attempt this refutation was that incorrigible moron and reptile called Jean-Pierre Massager, who lives on sci.math. He's a French academic. I don't even think he's a math major, but he's a computer science major who teaches math in France. And so he was the first incorrigibly stupid moron who decided to say that, oh yeah, this slope here is just a difference of two functions. It's not, first of all, q of x comma h is not really a function proper. It's a difference, which is a collection of the terms in h, okay? So you can think of it as a function if you really want to, but it's not a function proper. It's a difference, all right? And so anyway, you know, academics, mainstream academics are reptiles. They will do whatever they can to bash this theorem down, because this theorem alone proves their mainstream calculus is flawed. There is no need for limits in the definition of the derivative or the definite integral. So I'll place links to all this in the details section. And if you have any comments, write them below. One question at a time, please. Also, if you're not a subscriber already, become a subscriber and remember to click like. By the way, what I'm doing here is not to edify myself. It's for the future of mathematics and those who want to study mathematics. I'm on the side of those young students who go to college wanting to get a math degree and have to sit through all the rot that is currently being taught in universities worldwide. I do know better, people. I really do know better. That is a fact. That is not arrogance. That is not ignorance. It's a fact. I am smarter than all of you. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but sometimes you need to wake up and realize your abilities. You know, and unlike the fools who claim that I suffer from Dunning-Kruger, which is an unscientific study, by the way, this study by the Stanford, which was published in a New Yorker, is a scientific study. It was done on graduates, undergraduates, and mainstream academics, okay? And it's a fascinating article. Every math professor should read and study this article, because typically they have an unrealistic idea of their abilities. So very well, I will end off here. This is the New Calculus channel. My name is John Gabriel. Till next time, goodbye.